going on? Bobby here, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the ATA Network podcast. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been able to say that. We'll get into that here in a quick moment, but at the top of the show, like I usually do, I just want to thank all you guys for your support out there for the first 5 episodes. You guys wouldn't believe it, a little bit of behind the scenes, but the episodes 2 through 5. So that would be the episode with Danny Odell talking about his dirt racing career. When we talked with Spike Kolbecker about his Formula racing career. We talked with Jacob Wiseman and all of the acting and stuff that he's got going on. And then the show that we did talking, the most recent one, about the origins of ATA Network. All those episodes were actually recorded on the same day, all recorded in the What's That Like studio in Studio 312. So first off, I just want to thank John over at the What's That Like podcast for that continued use of Studio 312. Unfortunately, we are not in Studio 312 right now. We are in the quarantine studio in my bedroom. So the same place that we shot the first episode, I'm back here again. And sometimes I've got limited recording hours of the day when I know I can do it without noise around the neighborhood and things of that sort. It's kind of unpredictable from that regard. And I don't have the same kind of studio setup that John has over there at Studio 312. I don't have the foam on the walls to keep all the background noise from cars driving by and stuff like that. So sometimes I just got to try to find either like super late at night or early in the morning when there's really nothing going on to record these episodes. I'm going to do it from my house. So hopefully this episode turns out good. I don't want to record the podcast unless we've got really good quality. And I know that there's been a lot of major podcasts. You know, there's ones that I listen to. Rhett and Link's Ear Biscuits, the Rooster Teeth podcast, the Off Topic podcast, another family member of that Rooster Teeth podcast, that they're all doing those Zoom calls and they're doing it all through the internet. And this might be a good time for us to get guests on that we can't meet with face to face, like Spike, and try to do like a Skype call, a Zoom call, something like that. Try to get those guests that come from far and wide. Some of the ones that I'm thinking of, one in particular off the top of my head that I'm thinking of is Jordan Missig. He ran Radical Sports Cars a little bit last year. He's got a pretty interesting racing career coming up this year if we can ever go back racing. But yeah, first off, I just want to thank you guys all for your support. And if you want to help us out a little bit, you know, I would obviously recommend that all the financial fundings that you want to donate right now go to help the cause, the big one right now that's kind of keeping us all at home. But if you want to help support the show, you know, who knows, when you're listening to this, you might be reminiscing of the times when we were stuck in quarantine. If you want to support the show, check us out at shop.spreadshirt.com/ATA Network. We've got t-shirts, hoodies. Right now I'm wearing the Heather Gray ATA Network white logo, and it's comfy cozy, keeping me nice and warm. So I would recommend checking out those lines of hoodies, although we are getting into t-shirt weather, which is extremely nice here in the Midwest. If you're not already following us on the socials, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of that is ATA Network, all one word, ATA-NETWORK. And you can check this podcast out on these following platforms: youtube.com/ATA Network, Apple Podcast, Google Play Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Libsyn. If we're missing your favorite podcast platform, just let us know and we will try to get it out there for you guys. And if I discuss any links today, which I'm not sure if I will, I probably will. I forgot what the main topic for today's show is going to be, but there will be a link dump. So check that out at bobbykrug.com/podcast. So yeah, it's been a week. Actually, no, it's been a week. It's been like a month, probably over a month. Definitely over a month since I've last had to say that beginning part, because like I said, the last 4 episodes were all recorded within the same day. And it was weird because if you go back, we talked to Jacob and he was under the sickness, a little bit of a sickness, and we made a joke, you know, and that's kind of dating it. We made a joke saying, oh, he doesn't have the coronavirus. And then when we were interviewing Spike, Danny asked if he had the coronavirus, and he was still able to travel from New Zealand back to America, which it was weird, the nature of when we were talking about the coronavirus back then compared to now. And I just want to dabble on it real quick. I don't want to get too caught up in it because there will be an episode of the ATA Network podcast in the future. And I'm not sure. I'm going to have to work this out with Jacob. But Jacob had the idea, and I thought it was going to be a good idea for me and him to discuss, the effects of the coronavirus with us, because me and him both, obviously part-time jobs, full-time college students. We're both in our senior year, so we're kind of missing out on our whole last semester of being in college, which it sucks a lot. And it's I feel more apologetic for the high school seniors, because that's everybody, right? And not everybody goes to college, but this degree that I got has cost me a lot more money than it would have in the K through 12 years that I've already gone through. So it meant a lot more to me to get the mass comm degree from SIUE, to be able to walk the stage. And who knows what's going to happen. I mean, it just depends on and I don't want to get political. Like I said, political, topics and religion topics are things that I really don't want to discuss on this podcast. But it's just all a matter of when we can get the doors open, as long as we don't get them open too early, right? You don't want to let everyone go back to their jobs next week and then the coronavirus gets, revamped, and then everyone else gets it. And then we have to shut it down again for 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. Who knows? It's not my area of study, and I'm not making any health recommendations as a small figure of interest here on the internet. But I would say, follow your local and state level and, national guidelines to what you got to do. Because I'm not just broadcasting to a United States audience, I'm broadcasting to an international audience. I know we've got listeners from all around the world, Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, all over the place. So, follow your own local guidelines. Maybe it's not as big of an issue where you're at. Maybe it's a big issue. Maybe you're in a big city and there's a lot of cases going around. So just be safe out there. And, like I said, me and Jacob, we're going to do an episode. And for right now, I know I've spent the whole first part of this episode kind of talking about it. I want the ATA Network podcast, at least right now, to kind of be a gateway away from it all. And that's not it right now. But I just felt like doing an episode dedicated entirely to the coronavirus right now. I don't want to say it's out of taste, because it's definitely within taste. It's definitely something that should be discussed, should be talked about, but I don't want to dedicate a whole episode to it right now. So we might talk about like the after effects, if everything can go back to normal, and we'll kind of come back to it and talk about it and how it had an effect on everybody. He was going to talk to some people and bring some input into, how it affected them. And it was really a good idea. I really like it, and I still want to do it. But today's episode, I kind of just really want to talk about our recent accomplishment here on the channel, just hitting 1,000 subscribers and celebrating our 10-year anniversary on YouTube. So if you guys didn't watch the last episode of the ATA Network podcast, just a quick little synopsis for you. In March 15th of 2010, me, along with two of my friends back at the time, we started a YouTube channel. We launched ATA, which was actually Achieve the Achievable back then. And it's gone through some phases. It originally started out as video gaming content. And then as people knew that I had this video skill in school, and nobody else really wanted to do it, I suppose. And so I would record stuff at the school, started doing some vlogs, started recording the sports, most notably known for sports montages, sports tributes, and things of that sort. As I graduated from there, I didn't really have much going on for my life, and then I got into racing, and then that's kind of been the whole theme of the channel. I vlogged some of the stuff from college. You've met some of the college friends that I've had and some of the college things that I've done, but there really hasn't been that much. It's been more racing focused. So that's kind of like the brief, like super, super brief synopsis of the past 10 years of the channel. But it's been crazy to see that I've been able to maintain YouTube and keep it a part of my life for that amount of time. And I want to keep going. I want to keep vlogging till I'm dead. So we'll see how it all goes, but no plans of stopping anytime soon. I originally had a list of people that I wanted to talk about, list of people that I wanted to thank, but I'm going to go through it really, really quickly. I was going to take probably a good portion of this podcast, kind of going through and talking about each person individually, but I just want to kind of run through it real quick. And I'm forgetting people, obviously. I know I wrote this up, I don't know, been a couple weeks now when I had this idea for this episode, and I can probably think of a lot more people as I go through, but just some the key players in the program. that have really helped me out throughout this 10-year span. Obviously, the original ATA Network crew, Joe, Caleb, Colin, Derek, Andy, Steven, Zach, Megan, Molly, all those people, they help me out, in their own special ways, some more than others. I put a little note, stream days. Originally was a Twitch streamer for a period of the time, doing like Minecraft streams just on vanilla Minecraft. I did a little bit of multiplayer stuff, some server playing, but not a whole lot of it. Those people that I want to thank is Sonia, which her username is Zytera. I don't talk to her anymore. She did a lot of, I know I said I wasn't going to talk, but I want to talk about her specifically. She did a lot of graphic design work for me back in the day, and we no longer talk, and I don't know what happened to separate us, but I know that she did a lot of graphic design work for me, and it wasn't like fan art per se. It wasn't like she was doing it just for fun. I would ask her to do things for me, and I never ended up paying her, and I don't think that was the fuel to the fire that burnt that bridge. But I want to come back, and I want to at least apologize and monetarily make up for the work that she had done for me. So, I just wanted to throw that sympathy out there. Another good friend of mine that I still talk to this day, my good friend Dominic from Canada. His username was Zephyr315. Me and him go back, to about that same time, and we've been talking ever since. So that was cool. Cool to still be in contact with him. He's a great dude. PJ, his username's Ricana. He does a lot of Twitch streams, and I met him on a Tobuscus, Toby Turner fan page, and me and him haven't talked in a long time, but he's a chill dude nonetheless. And then another one that I got written here, Dan's Designs. He was a fan art kind of person. He made my my Minecraft skin that I was using back then, so it was pretty cool to have that kind of fan support. I got rated twice when I was doing Twitch, and then I gained not a big following, but like the difference between YouTube and Twitch is I've got a lot of YouTube subscribers that are pretty inactive. So like with these streams that I'm doing, they'll get about 50 to 100 views, somewhere in that window, and that's about the amount of active subscribers that we have on the channel. So and it depends too, because we have some people that are subscribed for vlog content, we have people that are subscribed from racing content, and we have people subscribed, back past, 2016 that only really cared about the high school stuff, people that I went to school with. Back then, people were subscribing, and then they would become inactive. On Twitch, it seemed like, I gained so many followers, like I gained 100 followers in such a short period of time that I was able to maintain that kind of following, and they were able to stay with it. So when I had 100 followers on Twitch, it was 100 followers. It wasn't a lot of inactive people. So there were kind of a fan base, and I stayed in contact with those people through Snapchat and all the social medias. And I still do to this day. If you want to add me on social media, and I keep conversations with followers and people that, I may not personally know. I like the whole process of getting to know people that you don't know, and people that have come to find you through the content that you're making, especially the iRacing folk, because I can talk about racing and stuff like that with them, but really anybody that's come and found the content. And I've made friends through like tech reviews and stuff like that I've done back in the day. So I'm really open to that. So that's kind of how I got to know all those people back from those streaming days. And then we kind of move forward to the whole racing career that I've had. And, most of you guys know that story. And I really want to dedicate an episode to the show, kind of talking about how I got into racing and talking about, racing related questions on how to get into it and what I do to train and things of that sort. So I'm going to kind of make this list, pretty short here, just kind of run through the iDrive boys, Brendan Lauer, Austin Russell, Matt Chubb, Colin Predith, everybody at the Kartplex, Keith Scharf, all the employees, the competitors that I race with that, I may not say the name, that I may not, have written down here, but all those people, help me out a lot. Margay Racing, Keith Freeberg, Greg Dingus, Sean Kennedy, Shane McAfee, Ken Williams, all those fine folk that Margay that, build awesome stuff and that have helped me stay racing. And all the people that I've met, being able to travel with Margay to the challenge races and get to know some of the national talent per se has been really fun, especially Miami, being able to to go on my own terms and be able to kind of talk to people and really do a lot more socialization than I would rather than running around with a camera. Although I do enjoy that, it was nice to be able to, get around and talk to people. So that was fun. I really enjoyed that. And that kind of quickly summarizes that, group of people. So moving on to, I'm going to go ahead, and while I talked about that, once again, I thanked him at the top of the show, John Knowles. He's supported me a lot. He's helped me, maintain my platform that I'm working on. I've helped him. It's been a fun collaboration that we've had working on the ATA network stuff and working on the What's That Like podcast stuff. I've been over there helping him with some episodes. Earlier on in the show, he actually was there when I won the iDrive championship, filming some video for me. So, we've helped each other a lot. So it's been fun to have that collaboration effort with him. So got to thank John Knowles once again. What's That Like podcast. And then I move on to, I've got some other sponsors, 2 other local sponsors that, I think deserve the airwaves, deserve the recognition. First off, Labonte Photography. James and Kim Labonte, they actually came out and shot some stuff of me when I first got my cart in the rookie year. Those photos turned out fantastic, and they do a lot for the community, so it's cool to have them supporting me, and it's good to support them, just all the things that they do to give back to the community. It's cool to see how much they do. And then also I got to thank Gabe with Dexco Home Renovations, Gabe Dexheimer. Caleb, he was actually 1/3 of the original starting crew of the ATA network. So I knew him from a long time ago, and all the work that he does, especially, like I said, all these people, they're all local companies, and local companies support local. And then I guess another one I could talk about is Skip Barber Racing School and all the people at Skip Barber, Colin Chambers, Robert Traina, all those guys from the East Coast that I've gotten to know, met them at the St. Louis Auto Show when I won that contest, and to be able to work with them and for them to help me out and for me to help them out, it's been a pretty good exchange, considering I got to drive a frickin' Formula car at Indianapolis. Like that was a whole crazy experience. Hopefully we can get back out on track and I can redeem my Skip Barber Racing School for the 2020 season. And then that leaves me with, I guess, my last group here, some of the more recent listeners, followers of the stream that I have written down here. Mark in Iowa, Mark Smith. Shout out to Mark Smith. He's been around forever. He was there when I was vlogging in 2016 and just complaining about everything. He was there watching the vlogs back in high school. I was 17. I was actually 17 back then. And he still follows to this day. Like, it's crazy. He still follows, still comments on all the stuff. Racing related, vlog related, podcast related. He's still here. So big shout out to Mark Smith in Iowa. Got to thank my good friend Jonathan Logos. His actual name is Jonathan Logan. His username Father Fruit. He made he originally, like, what he got him on my radar is that he made me my rookie scheme in iRacing on a cup car. So that really, hit my attention. He did a really good job on it. And he would tell you now that he did a bad job on it because he's improved over the years. So he made one for 2019 as well. And that's the one that I still run to this day. If you go and look at the thumbnail for my iRacing streams, I actually use that. And then, I used a different one that he made. He used one for the A cars, the cup cars. And then I ran the Xfinity series, the Icebreaker series with the RSR people, and he made an Xfinity car for me using that same scheme. So that's actually what the thumbnail is. But he does a great job, and he's a good friend to me. He's a fantastic spotter. If you ever get the chance to have him as a spotter, I don't know why you would, but who knows, you might. So good friend Jonathan Logan, want to give him a shout out. And then good buddy Indy GT. Good old Kyle. I got to thank Kyle. Got to thank the viewers, some other ones, Jose, Whiskey Love, all those guys that make the streams fun when they come in and they want to chat. You got to thank Joe. He's a new one that I don't have written down. All you guys that keep those current streams going. It's pretty cool. Also, one more window that I completely forgot about here. Got to thank the SIUE folk, all the people from college, and one of those main people being Jacob, one of the co-hosts of this show. I didn't thank Danny Odell when I mentioned the Cartplex crew, but those two guys, those two co-hosts, two closer friends that I have, Jacob Wiseman, Danny Odell. Got to thank those guys out a lot. And then going down the rest of the the SIUE list, I've got Mitch and Josh. Faculty, I just wrote faculty just to like over umbrella the whole MassComm faculty that they've helped build my knowledge base, helped keep me supported, have those connections. And specifically, I want to shout out Ben Moyer. He's one of the new engineers in the MassComm department. I went to the MassComm department in the summer of 2019 to rent a camera, an XF300, to shoot the NASCAR truck race at Worldwide Technology Raceway because I got contracted to do it. And so I wanted a good camera that I know I could use well. So I used XF. And so I got it from SIUE, and that was when he was just hired on, and I got to meet him. And one of the professors there at SIUE that I know pretty well now, Corey Byers, he met us. He was like, hey, you guys never met. This is Bobby. This is Ben. You meet, become friends. And then I kind of was like, yeah, I'm going to shoot truck race at Worldwide Technology Raceway. And he's like, oh, that's cool. I do motorcycles. I do the track days in motorcycles. I got a motorcycle. I GoPro it. I put it on my YouTube channel, and I'm like, dude, that's crazy. Like, I've got a YouTube channel. I do kart racing stuff, and we've hit it on ever since. And like, this whole entire past semester, I would even say these past 2 semesters, I haven't needed to rent equipment, or I haven't had a class in the studio. So I don't have a need to really talk to an engineer, and I've got good grips on the programs and stuff that I need to know how to use. But every time that I'd run into him, I'd have to stop and talk to him, and we'd talk about, racing and driving and stuff like that. And, it was cool to have him and talk to him about racing stuff. And it was, it's cool when you've got somebody that's into video stuff, that's an engineer at SIUE that you look up to for their knowledge in video production and broadcast and stuff like that. And to be able to share that with some racing stuff. And even more ironically, one of the engineers that left SIUE, Wayne, he was into racing as well. And we didn't hit it off as well as me and Ben did, because it was kind of like one of the first things that me and Ben stumbled into was like, oh, I need a camera for this race. And then we got into it. Me and Wayne really we didn't get into it as quickly, but as time went on, and he wore an Indy 500 shirt, every once in a while. And it was funny. One of the days I needed a camera and I wanted to check it out during there's a break in the middle of the day, like between 1 and 2 o'clock, where the equipment gets checked in, and then you can check it out at 2 o'clock. And I really needed a camera at 1:30 because I needed a break in between my 2 classes to go to the Kartplex to shoot a feature story or something like that. And I think he had a bad day that day because he kind of snapped at me. He was like, we have these effing check-in times for a reason. Like, I'll excuse you this one time, but just try to schedule your shit. I think that was actually it. Schedule your shit within the check-in, check-out times. And that was the first time that I cried at SIUE. No, that was the first time that I realized that he was a race fan, and it was ironic because I was wearing my Indianapolis Motor Speedway shirt and he was wearing his Indy 500 shirt. So yeah, shout out to Wayne. I mean, I know I just told a story that may not have been very appealing about Wayne, but I love Wayne, miss Wayne. He was actually, he's one of those guys that, I know that if I needed a job, he could help me in so many ways. He's got so many different connections that he could really get me pointed in the right direction. So shout out to Wayne. And I think that concludes my shout outs. And I know that I said that I wasn't going to go very in depth with that, but there were some stories there, some people that I really wanted to talk about. So I want to go into some questions that I received, and I kind of brainstormed some questions with some of our co-hosts that we got here on the show, some of the people behind the scenes, some questions that I received through the social medias that I wrote down. I think we got a question from Rockwell Seacrest and Kyle Conley from the Instagrams that I want to get into as well. So I guess one of the first questions that I want to really get into here is, what does it mean to get 1,000 subscribers? And as logistically at least, what does it mean, from the back end of YouTube when you hit 1,000 subscribers? And hitting 1,000 subscribers is one of the new requirements that you need to be monetized on YouTube. You need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. And I think I've got in the last 365 days, it goes by an annual basis, I've got 1.8 1,000. So I've still got a long ways to go before I'm able to do that. And I think we just need to really focus on building a community, building the subscriber base around. And I think the watch hours will just come naturally. And that's also one of the big benefits of streaming is just the amount of watch hours that gets counted. If you're streaming for 2 hours and you've got 10 viewers that watch, that's a lot of hours of watch time that gets thrown onto the analytics. So that's another benefit of the streaming aspect of it. But we're once we get to that watch time of 4,000 hours, then we can monetize the content. And one of the biggest things about the past 10 years on YouTube, we had about a 2-year span in that 10 years where I was monetized by YouTube, and completely transparent, I made about $150, $200 on Google AdSense on putting ads on the channel. And then they put in that requirement when the whole adpocalypse thing broke down that you had to have these requirements before you could start monetizing again, and then it shut it off. And even if I was monetized or not, I would still be doing YouTube. Like, we've spent most of the time not monetized. It's not about making money off YouTube. It's about building a connection with people and broadcasting to an audience. And those partnerships that I've been able to have with, Skip Barber and Margay, wouldn't have been possible without me making YouTube videos. Like, one of the whole main reasons I was able to work with Margay past the first year after winning the iDrive championship was, and Mark Schwagen's going to take credit for this, and I don't know the real story, but this is the Mark Schwagen story, is that Schwagen was telling Greg, hey, he's doing all this video stuff, you should latch onto him. So who knows if that's the real story or not. Then Greg came up to me in the last race and was like, hey, I want to use you, boy. So that's how that was able to happen. So without the YouTube stuff and without me doing the video stuff, I wouldn't have been able to build up, all those connections and be able to, take advantage of the rewards that come from doing it. So it has nothing to do with monetization. Monetization is only a side plus, and I think with doing Spreadshirt, shop.spreadshirt.com/ATA network, and making a little bit of money that we do through Spreadshirt, it kind of outweighs the cost. So I would definitely recommend checking that out. It's kind of the substitute for monetization at this point. What else does it mean when you get 1,000 subscribers? Well, it means I can do community posts. And I did one when I said, just thank you for 1,000 subscribers. You see a lot of mainstream YouTubers, they'll post photos and stuff, and you can see it in your subscription feed. It's not necessarily a video post, but it's text post or like a photo or something like that. So I can do those now at 1,000 subscribers. And, and just like an emotional thing that I think about, I always like to picture, what kind of venue would I need to fit all my subscribers in one building? And I looked it up. I tried finding a St. Louis, a place in St. Louis that, kind of fits this mold of 1,000 people. Where can you go and fit 1,000 people? And I wrote down, it's a third of the Stifle Theater. And so just imagine the middle section, you got the one that goes off to the left, you got the one that goes off to the right. If you're looking out from the stage and you just filled the center section of the Stifle Theater, that's my subscriber base, the bottom section and the top section. So that's even crazier to think about. So it's awesome to build an audience. And I know that there's been some members of my audience that didn't know each other before finding ATA Network, and then they find ATA Network and then they come together. I know there's people that, I think of racing specifically, that stumble along these videos and they're able to get into racing. I know Trevor Egemeyer, he was one of the followers of the iDrive videos way back when, and he followed it, and that's what helped him fuel his fire and passion for racing. So it's cool to be able to do that for people, and I think that's one of the most rewarding things about having 1,000 subscribers is just knowing that you have some sort of influence or connection to 1,000 people. That's awesome.
What's that like? Looking for a fun podcast with some variety and crazy stories? I'm John, and on my show, I feature people who do interesting things, and I want to know, what's that like? I've had comedians, race drivers, ghost hunters, tornado chasers, world travelers, and more. Check out What's That Like on iTunes, Stitcher, and TuneIn, and follow our community with bonus content on Facebook. If you know someone who does something people might want to know more about, let me know. I always need more interesting people to bring on the show and ask them, what's that like?
Moving on to the next question here. What was the biggest challenge over the last 10 years? And this was kind of a hard one to really kind of take a dive in. And one of the things that I wrote down here was just bettering myself. I look back when I started doing YouTube, and I really wasn't very considerate of the content that I posted. I was very much myself. Like, I kind of overexposed myself, and I kind of went past boundaries. I did a lot of unprofessional things. So it's been cool to see the translation that has happened throughout the past 10 years, changing into the person that I am today. And back then I did a lot of video content for other people's benefit. Like I would record sporting events because I wanted people to go back and watch themselves, playing their sport, doing the thing that they love. And I really didn't do a whole lot for myself. And, even the gaming stuff that I did, while it was fun, I really did it, mentally based on the fact that I hope people are going to like it. I hope people are going to watch it. And when I graduated and picked up racing and fell in love with racing, it was like if I was doing my own sport back in high school and I just so happened to film it. Like I was putting the most emphasis on doing the thing that I love to do and doing the video stuff second. And I'm not saying that I don't like doing videos. It's just you have to find something that makes you happy and passionate. And making videos for other people's benefit, while it is cool to see, likes and comments and views on your videos and stuff like that, it's not, you could be miserable making this video and then it goes, viral on the internet. I don't really feel the appeal of that. Like there is a little bit of a high post production, right? When you get all these subscribers and these views and these likes, but I want to be able to put, I want to make content that I myself would watch, that I myself would enjoy. And so that's one of the big key things that I follow that a lot of YouTubers say nowadays is like, if you make content that you would watch, that you would enjoy, you will build an audience and other people will come to know and watch that as well. So that's kind of where I stand now. So that's one of the biggest challenges, was trying to, build my brand and transform and go through all those changes to better myself, and not only myself, but I feel like we've bettered the channel alongside of it. And then we go through, there's been another challenge of mine, is like just the challenge of being the best video producer that I myself can be. And as I've gone through the years, there's been more and more challengers, I would say. When I was in high school, I was the AV department. Like I was the only guy doing these video stuff. So if anybody need videos, they would come to me. And like that was all the stuff that happened at school. That was all the stuff that, I was contracted out for weddings and stuff like that. And, I was really the only guy that people could think of in Mount Olive that was doing these video stuff. And then when I got out of high school and went to college, now I'm in the mass comm department with, I don't know the number, 30, 40, 50 students that are also passionate about doing video stuff that, I've got, I went to graduating a class with 40 kids that were completely opposite of each other, that were completely different. So now I'm in a class size of 40 students that all want to do video stuff. So now we've got 40 Bobbies in a class. So I kind of felt challenged in that respect. And for the most part, I was still better than a lot of the kids in that class. There were some, like I think of Rio, if you guys went to SIUE, you guys know Rio. He's really good with, After Effects and stuff like that. So he was obviously someone that I put, above me. And there was a couple other students that, I would also put above me, but I was definitely in the top 5%. Like my first segment for Global Village was the feature story on Trevor Eggemeyer. And back then people were still trying to get used to the video equipment, and trying to learn good shooting techniques and stuff like that. So when I was able to put out the Trevor video, there was a lot of envious people like, oh, look at this kid. Like he knows what he's doing. If that was 2016 or 2017 or whatever, I've been doing it for 7 years. So, I mean, that didn't really bother me that people, were like envious in a little bit of a way, but, I felt good about it. I still felt confident in my video capabilities. But then as we went on and then the projects got more complicated, there was people that were outshining me a little bit more. So then the confidence level kind of went down, and I had to kind of step up to the challenge. And it was, whether that was learning new programs or learning new equipment, I'd only use like point and shoot cameras. I didn't really know a lot about adjusting settings. And that really takes a deep dive in even further when I start doing this Margay stuff. And like one of the most recent things that's just in it, like I hate saying this because like it's a compliment, but it's also kind of like me dissing myself, but I don't mean it as bad as it's going to sound. But when we went to Miami and I shot the video stuff for Margay, you know, I want to shoot this video with Greg's stuff, and he's got all this awesome technology. He's got stabilizers and the camera's sweet and the lenses and everything. But the video that I shot from the first round of Miami nowhere compares to the video that Greg shot, you know, the second time around. And that, like, it's cool to see, for one. I watch that video a lot, like not just to like take notes on like things that I wish I could do better, but just to like, it's just a good video. It's just so awesome to watch. And I know I've talked about it a couple times on this podcast, but it's also like notches above anything that I could have imagined that I could have produced. Like, it's just crazy. And then it's like, it's just nuts to see how good he is with his equipment. So it's like, that's one of the other biggest challenges is like, you know, through high school, I'm doing my stride, you know, I'm hitting it. I can make any kind of video that I want. You know, I can put a low effort into it or a high effort into it, and people are going to think it's good. So I wasn't really challenged. I get to SIUE, and there's a little bit of a challenge. There's like a little bit of like, all right, I got to kind of pull out some of the tricks that I have up my sleeve. And then now I'm working with Greg, and it's like, if you want to compete with Greg, you got to spend a couple hours on YouTube watching some tutorials to learn how to do some sweet transitions or some color effects and stuff like that. Like, and that's good. You need that in your life. Like, you can't just, like, one of the best things, like, you can't be comfortable. If you're comfortable in life, you're not doing life right. You have to be challenged. We have to rise up to the occasion and see if you can overcome the obstacles. And it's been fun, but it's been one of the biggest challenges over the last 10 years is just trying to improve on the art that I feel like I've known, but you know, you rise up to the next challenge and it's like, oh, okay, I can do so many more things now. So that's definitely one of the bigger challenges over the last 10 years. The next question here is actually from one of you guys. If you guys don't already follow me on Instagram, sometimes I'll do a Q&A thing and I'll ask you guys to submit your questions and I'll hold it and save it for the podcast and give you guys a shout out. So this question here, I got actually two questions from this individual. His name's Kyle Conley. He was the Indie GT that I was talking about earlier, one of my big followers there for the streams that I do. He asked me, what do I want to add to the channel in 2020? So this is kind of looking at the time span thing. You know, what do I want to do more of? And I guess I really was super optimistic and like a super brainstorm. Like, I call them brain tornadoes. And that's usually when I make a lot of changes. And that's when I redid the ATA Network logo and I did all that stuff, launched the Spreadshirt store. I was really in a good phase. And one of the big things that I wanted to add back then was a podcast. And it took me up until this point, you know, January is when we started. So, you know, it took me a while to get the podcast started, but that was one of the big things that I wanted to add to the channel in 2020. And I'm glad that we've been able to do that. And I think we're just getting started. I think with some of the guests that we're going to have on here in the next couple episodes, it's going to be a big blast. So the podcast was one of the big things that I wanted to add to the channel. I would obviously like to add more racing stuff, but to be able to add more racing stuff, I need to be able to do more racing. So that requires, you know, time, connections, money, sponsors, things of that sort. So, and with the whole situation that we're in right now, nobody's actually racing. So we're trying to do that with the iRacing streams, try to be able to do more racing through that, maybe try to explore more games, more sims, things of that sort. And then I guess one of the other things that I really wanted to add to the channel, one of the most successful things on the channel is tech reviews. And, you know, I used to do tech reviews. My two most popular videos on the channel are a review that I did on my computer that I used to have and one of the old cell phones that I used to have. And they each have about 50,000 views a piece. So I think I see a lot of value in tech reviews. And I could do some tech reviews on a lot of different things. I mean, I did a big upgrade on my setup for sim racing, so I could talk about my GT Omega sim setup. I tried contacting them. I was going to try doing a partnership with GT Omega, but they never got back to me. So there's kind of a little bit of a sour feeling on that. I kind of want to do a review, but then I also kind of don't want to do a review because they don't want to work with me. But we'll see. And it depends. It depends on the technology and if I feel like it would fit to the channel. So that's kind of the stuff that I really want to add to the channel in 2020 is really just more racing stuff and some more tech reviews. Just a matter of figuring out what that tech is going to be. And then the other question that Kyle asked is, what is the next goal? And I think obviously the next goal is 2,000 subscribers. So I think it's just a matter of time. And it took us, I've been saying, we're celebrating 10 years and 1,000 subscribers. And I don't want to get that confused as 100 subscribers, every year. That's not how that worked. The new channel, ATA Network, was founded January 13th of 2012. So it's actually been about 8 years, 3-4 months now. So we've been, over 100 subscribers a year. I think, I really think we can hit another 1,000 subscribers in like a year or 2 years. If we really push and try to grow the channel and make good content and not have any, lollygagging moments of the channel. We keep pushing out good content. I think we can really grow the channel exponentially, and I think that's what a lot of subscribers do. They always say that your first 1,000 subscribers is your most difficult to get. So hope that's right. Hope that's true. So we're going to keep pushing here and try to get to 2,000 subscribers within a shorter period of time. And then the final question here that I have for this episode, and this one was asked by Rockwell Seacrest, and I thought it was a really good question, so that's why I saved it for last. And he says, what video or videos is your favorite? If it's the latest, is it always the latest? And I will say that no, it's not always the latest. Sometimes like the latest videos on the channel now are like the last laps or like the couple laps with or a couple laps out. That was just like a lazy series. I just wanted to post some gameplay footage because I couldn't stream for a couple days. And I wanted to just put something out there. And that's kind of where you end up shooting yourself in the foot because you put just something out there and people don't like it. And they're like, oh, why did I subscribe to this guy? And then they'll end up unsubscribing. So sometimes I don't like doing that, but no, it's not always the latest. So that whole question kind of gets a big old not applicable. But I wrote down 5 different videos that are favorites of mine for different reasons. So I couldn't just narrow it down to one. And the oldest video that I have written down here is football tributes. And that's just kind of in general. I started doing those, I think, in 2013, and then I did one in 2014, and 2015 was the last one that I did. And those videos, they really put me on the map locally. I was doing my gaming stuff and people from high school knew about it. But then when I did the football tributes, man, then the whole community just kind of exploded. They're like, oh, this is Bobby Krug. Like it went really like, I've never experienced virality, like where people like really enjoyed a video. And I felt like the shy person, like in the school, like I really didn't feel like anybody really, I don't want to say nobody cared about me. That's kind of depressing, but I didn't feel like there was like a lot of people that really appreciated the video stuff that I did. And then I made the 2013 football tribute. And at the time I was an altar server at my church, and somebody from the parish, came out and was like, hey, you did that football video. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you did a really good job on it. I really liked it. But it was like the first time that those lives merged. It was like my YouTube self was now out to the world. And I wasn't hiding anything. I mean, it was just weird to see that correlation, like people actually seeing you as a different, in your different skills and appreciating it. Then it spanned off from that. And like even the cheerleading squad, they were like, oh, I liked your video, yada, yada, yada. And the basketball team wanted a video made, and all these different groups, that I wasn't, super close to, were now reaching out to me to do stuff. And it was really cool. And that's one of the big ones in my favorite videos is just those football tributes that I did. It really kept me passionate about making videos and helped me build connections that, I still have to this day. The next one that I've written down is the MOHS crash scene reenactment. And every 4 years, maybe, the local fire department, along with, police department, the high school, they put on a crash scene reenactment, around prom season to show people, hey, don't go out and party, drink and drive. This could happen to you. So I was asked to be a part of it. And I was the bad guy. I was the guy that was like slightly injured, intoxicated. And then I got I had to go through the test, the sobriety test, and then I got arrested. And it was a female cop at the time, and she had pink handcuffs, and she put me in handcuffs, and she put me in the back of the cop car. She drove me around the block to the bank, and we watched a Arch medical helicopter land at the firehouse. And then we turned back around, and I stood up in front of everybody, and they gave a speech about, hey, don't drink and drive. And I know that seems weird. Why would this be one of my favorite videos? And my friend Andy, he was out in the crowd with the rest of the school watching the whole thing go down, and he filmed it. He did a mediocre job in filming. Like, he was like really zoomed in, shaky, kind of all over the place, panning around. It looked like like eyewitness footage of an actual crash. And I was like, huh. So what I did was I went through all the footage. I cut out all the stuff that I couldn't use. Like if he was moving too quickly or too zoomed in on something, you couldn't see what it was. I cut out all the bad stuff in it. I left all the good stuff in, and then I made it black and white, put a black vignette around it so the corners of the video were kind of blacked out, put super sad music on it, some titles, sent it out on the internet. It was one of my low effort videos. And it got shared a lot. And it got I think over 1,500 views. And then Mrs. Adden, the computer teacher at the high school, sent it off to the Illinois chapter of Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And then in 2016, I was nominated for their media award. And I don't think I was actually nominated for an award. I think they might have just made an award and they gave it to me. But it sits up on my shelf now. It says 2016 Media Award, Bobby Krug. I don't even know how to say my own name. Bobby Crude Oil. I could go into the crude oil business and call it Krug Crude Oil. It's a tongue twister. Try to say that 10 times in a row. I got the media award from Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And that's something that still means a lot to me to this day. And that award and that whole process and just the irony of, and you're not really supposed to show your hand. You're not supposed to be like, oh, it didn't really take me that much to make that video. But that's kind of ironic about it. But the message still stands, whether or not it was, low effort or high effort. The message of not drinking and driving and that whole thing really means a lot to me, to be able to still be recognized with that kind of group of people. So it was really cool. So the next 3 videos are kind of in the modern scheme of the channel. If you've become a new follower to the racing stuff, you would have seen it by now. And 2 of these videos I'm really only highlighting because of just like a moment in the video. And they're actually 2 Ignite racing videos. One is the first ever oval race, and that was in my rookie season. That's when I beat Ryan Bettenhausen for a podium finish. And then the second one was a more recent one, and it is the Adversity is Important. It was the track extension layout, and it was the same weekend that I came back from Skip Barber on Friday, and I came back and raced in Ignite on that Saturday. The reason that I have those 2 is because the first ever oval race has some music in it that's just been thematic of the channel that I've always associated with myself, that people have associated with me. So that was a really cool moment. And then just the whole aspect of a side-by-side finish on an oval track with a Bettenhausen, namesake, like that whole thing is very poetic, and it's just super awesome. And just the way the video flows, and it's the montage style video, which I've come to kind of retire, but I would say that was one of my better videos that I made, and it's just super cool to go back and relive that moment. It was such a cool finish side by side, and the whole last lap of just like threading the needle between Matt Chubb and Ryan, getting to Ryan's inside, making it clean, getting to the inside, and then the drag race to the finish line was just super awesome. So that's one of the videos that stand out to me. And then the Adversity is Important video has Heart and Soul by Twin Atlantic, which has just become a song. I recommend listening to it just by itself without watching the video. It's such a good song. It just that song gets me in the mood. Just the guitar, just everything about it. It's something that you could like have like a walkout song to, like if you were a wrestler. Like it's just something that the lyrics, the way that the song just hits you, that just gets me like in the mood. And the whole montage of like building up to the final, like every the part from when the song starts to right before Hunter Richardson takes out Evan Stammer, and then I get stuck with those two guys. Every time between those two moments is just like I can go back and rewatch that on loop and just be super pumped. So that's one of my favorite videos that I've made as well, just that moment specifically. I was just on a high from Skip Barber. Like, I just got done driving a freaking Formula 4 car at Indianapolis, and now I'm driving a go-kart. Like, there was such a confidence high going into the weekend, and that just goes to show how important just being in the right mindset can help. I mean, it was the challenge race for the Ignite series, so you have all these out-of-towners, these not regulars racing with us, and then on top of it, you know, I freaking finished. I had the pole for the final, and man, if Hunter Richardson had not dongled me and Evan, and if Hunter had not dongled me the other time in that race, I wonder how it would have happened. It might have been my first win, which would have been crazy, but that would have been a tall task to hold off Stammer, Richardson, all those guys that were running towards the front of the pack. It just would have been a tough task to ask for. So, but, you know, still would have been freaking amazing. So I was definitely in a good place that day, and that's why that video is one of my favorites. And then the last video that I want to give a shout out to as being one of my favorites is the Show Me Rally video that I made of when I went to my first rally race with Austin Russell. It's got just a good feel-good vibe to it, all the camera angles. That was just a really good, well put, you know, video. If I want to get put in a good mood, I go back and watch that video. If you haven't seen that video or any of the videos that I've mentioned, I highly recommend going back and watching them. I'll put those in the link dump. But yeah, just really good vibes in that Show Me Rally video. And that was my first time actually at a rally race, like I said, and had such a good time. And now me and Austin Russell have made it a tradition to go to at least the 100-acre rally one and the Show Me Rally one as we're allowed to, but as long as our schedules align, obviously. And unfortunately, the 100-acre rally was canceled this year for the pandemic. It would have been in March. Still really good vibes in that video. I can just watch it and it just puts me in immediate good mood. So check out all those video guys if you guys want to see what my favorite videos are from the channel. And comment down below. Comment on wherever you're watching this from. And send me a message on the socials. You know, what's your favorite video over the past 10 years of the channel? So it's been a lot of fun to kind of go through here, guys, with you and reminisce on the whole past 10 years and celebrate that anniversary and the last 1,000 subscribers. So thank all of you guys for all your support on this podcast, on the channel, and everything that I've been doing. I think this is going to be it for the show. So like I said, thanks for your support. If you want to support the show, check us out on Spreadshirt. Follow us on all the social medias on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I will be seeing you guys in the next episode of the ATA Network Podcast.